Good morning, pirates. Calendar week 02, Snow and Ice, in which we examine the winter accommodations of pigs, people, and mice. It's been a wintry, quiet week at the barracks. For almost all of the week, the thermometer has been stuck around -5, and every surface bejewelled with condensed ice. Certainly colder at night. But for a brief winter sirocco second, we jumped up to 3 or 4 positive degrees, enjoined by one hell of a wind. All of the ice melted in an hour, and then it snowed. I talked last week about the coordination inherent in any physical task and the acquiring of it for new skills. This week I was reminded that barracks life is also a story of seasonal muscle memory. When it snows, and it looks like the snow is here to stay, you really do have to shovel it away from any path you're planning on walking. If you don't, it compacts hard to ice on the first footfall, and overnight, especially if it snows on top, it becomes mirror slippery and impossible to see. Also much harder to shovel up again. But the real reason is that walking on snow makes for very cold and wet feet. Walking on even icy paths through the snow is absolutely fine. So I set about creating paths. Since last winter, my body has completely forgotten how to do this without pain, and on the first day I did the roughly 20 metres from the loft to the big house and went to bed with throbbing arms and back and legs. By the time I woke up the next day, the aches and pains had already left me, and I recalled how to do it with minimal effort. I cleared from the wood shop to the wood store, from the wood store to the loft, from the loft to the second door of the big house, and from there to the pigs. Also from the loft to the front gate. In total about 400 metres. At 40 centimetres wide, 10 centimetres deep of snow to clear, that's 16 cubic metres of the cold white powder hoofed to the side. And the second that I had finished, it started to rain. If it had stayed raining, there would have been no snow, the void that is the path deleted, a total waste of time. But fortunately for those who enjoy sunk cost fallacies, it didn't. But yes, in that moment a brief reprimand was uttered to the sky, an objurgacious prayer of blue, dedicated to that Murphy and his pesky laws. I didn't spot this mouse house in the woodpile until I'd already uncovered it completely. I know they tell you to check specifically woodpiles for hibernating creatures, but I didn't. This is the first time I've come across one, and it was extremely well tucked in the space between logs. And I'm sorry, mouse, but I do need the wood. I hadn't seen the scurrying of an escaping mouse family out of the corner of my eye while chopping, and it does look long abandoned, but it made me sad to see, just in case I have evicted them like a slum landlord. Notice how the bedding is made from all sorts of splinters and straw and fur balls and paper packaging, but off to one side is the latrine. That is a considerable pile of mouse droppings. I love the way that the wee rodent probably didn't have to leave home to relieve himself, just angled the butt backwards out of the entrance and dropped it over the side. Very neat and tidy and neat. Talking of which, the pigs generally prefer to perform the necessarials in a different house to the one they sleep in as well, which is not a good idea. The way it's supposed to work is that they poo and pee at home. I then cover it in fresh straw, and when it starts to rot beneath them, they get underfloor heating. I can happily report that their house-proud squeamishness has finally lost out to their dislike of going outside in the cold, and their parlour is now the warmest place in the barracks. The week ahead. This next week there will hopefully be lots of soaring. I counted my pennies and decided that, thanks to the problem with the bank at the end of last year, they blocked my account and I couldn't get into it for over 2 months. A great savings plan. I had just enough to buy a decent saw for the tomato house. I went for a classic Japanese Roiba 240, which is one side for cutting across the diameter of the wood, and one for ripping down the length of it. So yeah, hopefully that. Wish me luck with it. I've never used a Japanese saw made for substantial woodworking before, just small ones for fancy joints. Other than that, I shall be eating beans and potatoes and cabbage and kale. I'll let you know how it all went in a week. Until then, please be loving to all things, and I shall wish you well. Your loving Pirate Ben. XO. XO.